everybody, how's it going? We're here with the Timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have out is Six of Cups. Next card is Seven of Cups. Next card is Ten of Swords. And the Moon. When we have Six of Cups and Seven of Cups, it can feel perplexing what's going on. There can be a bunch of past experiences jumbled up, and then to have the Ten of Swords can be something difficult that happens, but we're still not really in a place of understanding about it. And having the Moon there is, the Moon is sort of this symbol that there's more to understand, there's more that can be realized, there's more that can be reflected upon, so it shows that there's still some unknown stuff or unexplored territory. When we start with the Six of Cups, it can be about a past event. There can also be past connections that sort of come up too. Seven of Cups can be trying to sort of work through one's feelings or understand how one is feeling. But also when we have the Seven of Cups, it's about still being on the surface. Like something still hasn't gotten deeper yet, and there is a depth to it. We're just barely scratching the surface with the Seven of Cups. And then having something conclude at that point where it feels like, what just happened? I still don't even know what's going on here. The Moon is sort of an invitation to go deeper into it, that there's more below the surface that can be discovered here. But it can also feel difficult to navigate in deep water like that. Something here about exploring one's depth of feelings, exploring the depth of one's sort of unfamiliarized experience, like what we haven't put words to yet, what we haven't yet brought consciousness to. It feels like having to go in there and unpack that. Something about that feels like a delicate and also pressure-driven process. When we have Six of Cups and we have Six of Pentacles, this can be I'm remembering past times or past interactions where it felt nice, where you were showing up and where I was showing up, and so there can sort of be this memory of things, or these memories of times when something worked or it functioned properly or it wasn't, and it became stressful to be in the interaction. But some of these are also, there can be stress there, and there can also be nostalgia. All right, we have Ten of Swords and we have Seven of Swords. What does this mean? Seven of Swords is a bit of a shadow energy. It's kind of cloaked here. When you have Six of Pentacles and you have Six of Wands, you can feel like this is fair, this is what I need, this is how this is supposed to go. But also too, when you have the Seven of Swords there can be this feeling of maybe doing things in a way, or having an interaction with somebody who's doing things in a way where you feel like there's not an upfront energy. So Seven of Swords is connected with the world, and this can be something that you're becoming aware of. It can be within yourself. It can also be within another person too, because I am seeing something about there being an arrangement, there being an exchange here. Having Six of Pentacles feels even like there was an expectation to show up, to be a part of something. When that is linked with the Ten of Wands, one can feel like they know how they need to show up, but they can feel like it's too stressful to do it. Like, they know that you put the 5-pound weight on the scale and that they have to come through and put the 5-pound weight on, but something about that is stressful. So somebody can know, and this can also be your energy too, somebody can know like what it would take for the scales to be balanced and that would be equal. Simultaneously, they can feel like that's too much for them. So it's not somebody being like, you just need to, I'm trying to get to the essence of how to describe this. This isn't somebody denying what the scale looks like when it's equal, but it's somebody having a hard time pulling their weight, essentially. Like, something about that. I'm seeing that there's like hidden stuff that's stressing them out. But this, if this is your energy, it can be hidden stuff that's stressing you out. I don't want to, like, let's talk in the first person with the reading. What this can mean is that if there's stuff that we don't understand that is stressing us out, things that we're not balancing, stress that we are not even understanding how this attributes to how we're showing up or don't show up. There can be a lot of unexplored stuff here. When something is behind the moon, there can be this triggers me and I'm not even aware of it, or this stresses me out and I'm not even aware of that, or like, what is the thing that's really stressing me out here? There can just be I haven't figured that out yet. Like, I don't know that about myself yet. I haven't become aware of that yet. With the moon, it's a really difficult energy to sort of get to the bottom of, because you have to go really far down. And when we have the Seven of Cups here, it feels like just scratching the surface. So I haven't even begun to understand the depth of where this stress comes from and what's even going on that would be so exorbitant here, where one would feel like there's so much energy going into something, but then having it behind the moon, this can sort of be a hidden thing. But then I'm also seeing Saturn here. So this can be somebody's experiencing something where their moon is involved, where emotions are involved, and then also to have Saturn there too. This can be somebody feeling like the weight of responsibility is crushing, but they're still not totally coming into a connected place yet. There's still a unraveling that's happening. There's still a getting to the depth that's happening. And this feels like I'm expected to show up. I'm expected to show up in a grown-up energy, even with the Emperor on the bottom of the deck and Saturn being the last card that came out. Saturn expects stuff of us where there's maturation needed, there is prioritizing needed, there is showing up, there's the hard work, there's the consistency. All the things that Saturn requires of us in order for us to get our lives together so that things can function properly. But when you have Seven of Swords next to it, it's kind of like this, I don't feel prepared for these lessons that Saturn is bringing me, and so I'm trying to escape from it any way possible. Even if that means deluding myself into believing that I'm taking care of things when I'm not actually. Like, whatever one needs to tell themselves. And this can also be having 10 of Swords and having 7 of Swords there. This can be something that we don't want to be aware of, and so we've been keeping ourselves away from realizing that. That 10 of Swords can be something that has happened that was so painful that it triggered the 7 of Swords within us, which is that part of us that's like, no, this is just too much to handle. And so I'm going to rewrite this in my head, even though that's not actually what happened, but that's how I'm going to deal with it. And then having that moon there feels kind of like repressing that, like tucking that away. And then Saturn being like, hey, this thing is going on, and you kind of get confronted by it and then all stressed out. Something going on that feels very difficult to feel, to experience. And then that Seven of Swords being triggered is the ways that we try to cope with it, but it's shadow ways that we try to cope with it. It's ones that's not really going to help us in this situation, but it may be our go-to. It may be all we know what to do. It may be what we're telling ourselves, this is the only way that I can possibly handle it. And even though it's going to dig you deeper here within this, you can be like telling yourself for some reason that Saturn is just asking too much of you and you can't. I'm not seeing that be the case. Saturn isn't going to come through and do something like that to you. But what happens when you have Saturn there is that you can't escape it anymore. Saturn there, when you're experiencing something with Saturn, when you're experiencing something with the worlds here, it's like this may have worked in the past, but it will not work now, and there will be accountability. So having Saturn right next to the Seven of Swords shows that there's no getting away from this. There's no getting around it. Saturn is there like, this may have worked before, or you could have hidden this before, done things in this way before, but now that Saturn is here, it's just not possible because there's a spotlight on you. So those places where you may have tried to go before, in the corners or in the dark or whatever, the spotlight is there. And then it's over here. So there's just really nowhere to go away from this. So this feels like trying to do something in the way that one feels like this is just the best that I can do, and Saturn being like, well, that's going to come to light now. Even if it had worked before now, there's going to be accountability now. Like this, just, it feels like it can't be hidden anymore with the moon and with Saturn here. Like something about this being exposed now. And this can be a lesson that we go through that has to do with our shadow, and it has to do with us being accountable, us taking responsibility for our lives, having Saturn and having the Emperor here. Definitely accountability here, and definitely ownership that we see here. And this can be something that you're learning about yourself. This can be something that you're learning about another person. And when you go through this type of experience and you learn this about yourself, it means that you can also spot it when it's happening, when other people are going through that process, as we go through these archetypal processes. I'm seeing there be a making progress with things here. It feels too to see things how they really are, because Six of Cups can also be a bit of an idealistic energy. It can be sort of wanting to, when we have Six of Cups and Seven of Swords and the Ten of Wands, Six of Cups is like, this feels good, this feels nostalgic, this feels like my little paradise that I go into in my head. Like that time when everything felt right to me. And Seven of Swords feels like the ways that we delude ourselves into sort of keeping us in that safe space, even though other stuff is happening now that needs to be addressed, but that part of us that's having a really hard time coming to terms with the present and sort of keeps trying to like escape into this moment. That is a past moment. That's not happening anymore, and then avoiding what's going on presently because it feels stressful, and then this being like a whole thing. Like it's like I'm having like memories of the past, or I'm feeling really nostalgic right now, or like going into this sweet thing that's from the past, because it's not something nice that's happening now. This is more of like I'm trying to escape from what's going on right now. And then there's that being things happening, feeling stressed out, and then going back into that space again. And then things happening that you sort of need to be present for. It's too much, it's stressing me out, and then going back. It feels like this thing that keeps happening again and again and again. And this can also be about what we give and what we expect of others too. And when you have that Six of Cups there, when you have Six of Cups above Six of Pentacles, it can be that, like, yeah, there were nice exchanges in the past, or yeah, that's a really like nostalgic memory of when that was flowing well. But presently, you can see that something is not working, and that Six of Cups can actually be something that deteriorates your present reality and sort of shifts the gravity in that direction when that's not presently what's going on, and then we're avoiding what's presently going on. And just know too that if this is somebody's energy and it's not your energy, there will be accountability. You don't need to do anything about this. Having this Seven of Swords and having the World there, it shows that this energy will be reclaimed. It's showing that I'm basically getting like a really justice vibe from this with Seven of Swords, the World, and the Three of Wands. It shows that there can be a game that's being played right now, but it's not going to be being played for very long. Like, this is going to catch up. And I'm seeing the moon and I'm seeing Saturn be there. And the moon can sometimes be a little bit like things that are kept in an unconscious place, and then Saturn will make those things materialize and be solid, where in the future this is going to create a problem. It may be less of a problem now and it's going to be more of a problem later on, but it will be faced nonetheless. So if this is something that you've been doing, or you're interacting with somebody that's been doing this, this can be something, well, it's going to catch up. The energy is going to catch up. And not to punish. It's not about that. It's about things coming back into a place of balance. It's just the cause and effect. When there is shadow energy moving around, those things are going to catch up and like have to be rebalanced so things can come back into a state of equilibrium. This can also be feeling stressed out about stuff from the past and not wanting to come face to face with it. Like wanting to pretend that something is a way that it's not, just to not have to face like the current environment, the current way that things are. Because I do get that, like, in the past, something was working. But now when you have the Ten of Swords, it feels like Ten of Swords is happening now. And then the shadow being activated by that and being like, I just want to pretend it's the past. I don't want to have to look at things how they're happening right now. And having the shadow come up and be like, I'll take care of it. Which isn't really going to take care of it, because of one feeling very stressed out about future things. It's not stuff now, it's future stuff. Hard labor and emotional work with Moon and the Saturn. When we go through the trials and energies and cycles and experiences that are Saturn themed. It's stuff that teaches us how to grow up, even though it can be really difficult. It's like having an adult around you when you're younger that's somebody that like really expects the best from you and is supportive and gives you good advice, and also isn't somebody that's just going to let you run around and ruin your life. Saturn is going to be there putting sort of bumpers on things so you can't get too far off track. And as much as that can feel restrictive initially, you end up seeing it as a gift because you don't need to be going in those other places. And so Saturn is keeping you actually on track where you're actually supposed to be, like where you're meant to be. And having that moon there feels like processing all your feelings about this, about having that force there that can at times feel like it takes away your freedom a bit. However, when you get to the end of it, you're going to be like, wow, I would have never grown up if I didn't experience these things, or I would have never learned how to hold myself accountable if I didn't experience these things. I would have always been looking to somebody else and saying they're the authority, not me, and I would have never had that authority within my life. And so as much as we can experience it, like when you're a teenager and you want to rebel against the authority, that can be sort of what the feeling is of this. Like, you are the moon energy here, and so you can feel very sensitive to this. Like, this is repressing me. You can feel like it's restricting you. You can feel like it's taking things away from you. Meanwhile, it's like keeping you on track where you need to be. It's not like it's putting you somewhere you're not supposed to go. Saturn is just there like a very loving parent that's teaching you how to grow up here with this, because it understands that worldly perspective here. It's something that teaches you boundaries. It's something that teaches you how the things that you're doing, how those things materialize. So it's just like showing you more of yourself here, but having the moon here, it can be stuff that we weren't aware of before. I was feeling this and I thought that it was isolated, but then you have something over here materializing and you find out that they're actually connected with one another. And so Saturn is responsible for allowing you to actually see that and make those connections, but it can be difficult, especially when we've been running away from things. Especially when we've been lying to ourselves, or when there have been things that we haven't been ready to see yet. Because the moon can be stuff that we don't tell ourselves. The moon can be things that we ignore when we're not checking in. And having Saturn here, it's like, well, you were feeling that, and now the reverberation of that is in your face and you can't deny it anymore. And for some of you, I'm seeing that this is something that's just going to continue to build, and it's bringing you into a place where there can be this deeper analysis of things so you can see what's going on, because it's not unrelated stuff that's happening. It's not you're having this experience over here and now the stuff that's manifesting within your life, you have no idea why. Well, sometimes we can feel like we have no idea why, but it's not like it's not connected. It's all connected. So what's going on in that internal experience, you're now materially seeing that reflected, and it can be difficult to look at that. It can be very, very difficult to look at that, because we realize that was me. I'm responsible for that. That happened because of what I did over there. So it can be that moment that feels like a lot of weight. But what I'm seeing is this is just beginning to happen. It feels like this is going to keep happening, I think, more and more and more from what I'm seeing with this. And even though at first it can feel like, why am I being punished? It's really not that at all. It's showing you where you weren't being in full truth with yourself, or where you were telling yourself, I'm not strong enough, or I can't take accountability for that, and like trying to get away from it, and now you can't. So it just, stuff closes in, so you have nowhere to go anymore with Saturn, and all it is you facing yourself. You're not facing anything except yourself here. And that's what I'm seeing happening with the energy. I'm seeing the image of a Persian looking rug here with a light pink color in it. Or like some type of antique vibe even that I'm getting from this. Can also be something of like a colored metal, something like that. In the future, things are going to be sunny again. You can feel like that now too, and it's not that things can't feel sunny right now, but what you'll find is that it doesn't only have to be things were nostalgic in the past and that's the only time and way I can access that. Once you get through this process, things can be just as good, if not better, presently, and you'll want to be present for that. And that's basically the process that's being worked through currently. But yeah, there can be some really difficult things that are going on right now that you're coming face to face with, and it can feel like, I just get this feeling of almost feeling like you're being punished or something like that, but that's not the vibe. That's not what's happening. It's just seeing the internal system that's going on reflected externally, because Saturn will materialize those things, and that's what's really going on with the energy. It's just all you, and stuff that you weren't aware of was you before too. And that coming into the periphery, I guess, beginning to sort of show up in front of you. So if you're feeling like you're having a little bit of a weird streak right now, it's all that stuff coming to the front so it can be seen. And for you, it's all for your success. It's all for your growth. It's all for your gain. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm seeing, with the moon, this is Pisces, and I'm also seeing Saturn here. Saturn, Pisces. I want to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I'm sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.